All right, guys, welcome to the first episode of the Cantina podcast. So, it is me, Legos fan, as you know. I hope you're ready for something fun and special. Here, I have a guest with me today, and his name is Mason. Would you care to say hello?
How's it going, everyone?
All right. So, how you doing, Mason, right now?
I'm doing quite swell, Sean.
Okay. What movie did we just watch?
We just watched Star Wars Episode 4.
A New Hope.
It was a great movie.
Yeah.
Special effects, movie overall, fantastic.
All right, so I'm gonna do a little interlude with a sober me before this episode, but just to give you a little bit of context, if you've ever seen the show Drunk History, the objective of this podcast is to essentially do that with Star Wars movies. So Mason here, as my guest, will be asked to recount several moments and concepts from the movie A New Hope. So are you ready, Mason?
I sure am.
All right, let's get started. So, why don't you go ahead and set up the scene for me? Explain the state of the galaxy and, like, the two factions.
Sure. So, right now, there's the Empire. Big bad guys.
Right.
Big bad guys. They're sort of manifest destinying their way across the galaxy. But there's this little faction known as the Rebels, the Rebel Resistance, that is like, hey, maybe don't take our planets. How about that? And they're trying to, stop the Empire from spreading across the galaxy.
Okay, and what is like the differentiation between these two factions? Like, how much power and influence does each faction have?
Like the Empire is like insanely strong. They have so much money, so much resources going towards their cause, and the Rebels are just like these, just average Joes, everyday citizens, just trying to stand up against the man.
Okay. So why don't you go ahead and start off by talking a little about the beginning of the movie here. What happens in A New Hope? What is the conflict in the galaxy, and how are they going about that?
Oh, man. All right. So we just want to, open up on the movie.
Right.
Of course.
Yes.
Princess Leia is being chased in her Corvette by the Imperial starships. And they eventually, climb aboard this, I would say, phallic-shaped ship. It is quite phallic-shaped. I don't know if that was intentional. It's pretty phallic-shaped. They climb aboard this ship, take your prisoner, the whole shebang.
And what are the rebels doing? What do they look like? What's
Oh man. So these guys look like so first of all, the helmets. Let's talk about that. You ever seen those guys that are like way too into cycling? They wear the exact same helmets as the rebels here. They're pretty color coordinated for being a rebel group. I'll say that. Very fashion forward. But yeah, they definitely look, definitely underfunded compared to the Empire once they come aboard.
Okay. And what happens from here once the Empire boards the rebel ship?
Sure. So the opening scene, I'll say, I don't know how the Empire screwed this up. I don't know how they. I should say I don't know how the rebels screwed this up. They had very superior defensive positions here. The Empire was just charging in, willy nilly, and
Go ahead, take your time.
I'm sorry. Just charging in willy nilly, just straight down this long corridor filled with rebels, behind defensive positions, and somehow they got through with like 5 people. I don't know how. And eventually they'll introduce, big bad man with asthma. Yeah, Lord Vader himself. Walking in once all the rebel scum are taken care of.
And so yeah, you mentioned this guy, this big asthma man. Why don't you describe the concept of Darth Vader? Tell me who that guy is.
So he's, you know, for those who've seen Star Wars, he's big bad guy Darth Vader. Everyone knows him. He's looks edgy as fuck.
Okay, yeah, he's edgy. What's his deal, dude? What's Darth Vader all about?
So in the beginning of the movie, he's all about finding this princess. He's reaching out into the ship, trying to find our girl princess.
What's her name?
Princess Leia. Princess Leia.
Right.
That's his deal, man.
Why is he trying to find Princess Leia?
She's got that crucial info. She knows all about, rebel plans, rebel schemes, and whatnot. She knows it all, man. She knows it all. She's the princess, for fuck's sake,
Okay. Could you be a little more specific? Like, what's he trying to get out of this Leia chick?
She's got vital info for.
Come on, dude.
Vital info for the rebel bases and where they are and where he can go to destroy said bases.
Okay.
Throughout the galaxy.
Okay. And so, once he finds her on that ship, what goes down next?
Oh, he takes her prisoner, takes her aboard his ship, and then eventually back to the big scary moon, big Death Star.
Sounds like you're getting ahead of yourself here. All right, so where did this occur? When these ships kind of intercepted each other? Where were they orbiting? You don't remember?
I don't remember where they were orbiting, Sean. Could you?
Oh, it's a little planet called Tatooine.
Oh, of course, okay, Tatooine.
Yeah.
What a cultural mecca of the galaxy.
Why don't you talk to me a little bit about Tatooine and what's going on Tatooine?
Sure. So Tatooine is basically envision the city of Tucson, Arizona, and that is Tatooine as a planet. Very hot, sun's out all the time. They have not seen a single cloud. There's a lot going on in the big cities, but outside of that, nothing. Literally nothing. You got these moisture farms. They're literally harvesting water. That's their main crop. So Tatooine is pretty dry, I would say.
And how does that factor into the events of the movie? How do they get to Tatooine, dude?
All right, so so our girl Princess Leia, she'll encrypt.
Okay, yeah. You're good. Okay.
So, Princess Leia, she'll encrypt this message and then place it within this droid, this small little R2 unit, and then send it on its way well before Darth Vader and his boys board her ship, and then they'll jettison out into space. And it just happens to be over Tatooine, where they will eventually crash land and find their way to a little moisture farm on Tatooine, owned by Owen
Lars.
Owen Lars.
Yep.
Owen Lars and his it's his nephew, right?
Yep.
His nephew Luke Skywalker. And
So, like, what's the life of Luke Skywalker like before he meets these droids? What's this guy up to?
Luke's a good old boy. All right, Luke Luke definitely drives a lifted truck. You know, definitely wears, you know, flannels with the sleeves cut off. You know, full lip dip, if you will. Imagine that on Earth, but in space. that is Luke Skywalker.
Does he have any like goals or anything? Like, what's this dude about?
Oh yeah. He wants to enlist in the army because he couldn't you know, pass it in high school. So, you know, education isn't for him. He's like, oh, I guess I'll go to the army. You know, get some money out of that.
So, what happens when he meets the droids?
Oh man. So initially they're brought on for some help with the farm, you know, because the farm's in dire need of help, because our boy Luke is trying to, you know, get the fuck out of there. You know, he brings them on. He realizes that C-3PO is like, you know, maybe good for some housework, but maybe not so much in the moisture farm. But R2 could definitely definitely cut it out there. He's hardened.
And what happens when Luke buys these droids?
Sorry, give me a second.
It's okay, take your time.
So Luke convinces old Uncle Owen to buy this R2 unit after some other one they buy just blows up in their face. Like, he was super cheap. He was not well maintained. He was not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
But thank God they brought this R2 unit on, because he proved to be you know, pretty valuable, I'd say. Pretty valuable asset to the farm.
Sure.
As a whole.
Yeah.
Even though he wasn't very he's trying to expand his horizons, if you will. Okay. You know?
The droid?
Yeah, the droid, R2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Not so much Luke. Well, yeah, Luke too. I don't know.
So, what does Luke discover in this droid?
There's this weird little program. He delved way down into the files of this droid that he was storing. He found this little clip, little teaser, if you will, of a certain princess requesting help from someone named Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah, and he, you know, Luke, being the good old boy he was, didn't know many people outside the farm. But he did know someone by the last name of Kenobi. You know, our boy Ben Kenobi. He was like, wow, you know, maybe this guy has something to do with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Maybe he can help me out.
And why is this Kenobi character significant?
Oh, this Kenobi character. He seems to be quote unquote the only hope of the princess herself.
Okay. So then how do they discover this character?
So, I said R2D2, he likes to wander. He likes to expand his horizons.
Of course.
He does that without, informing anyone else, of course. And he wanders, and then our boy Luke is like, uh-oh, this might be my ass if if Uncle Owen finds out. It's like, all right, he recruits C-3PO, his farm's employee, and also R2-D2's friend, to help him along this journey. He's like, hey, we got to go find your buddy. And
Do they find his buddy?
oh well, of course they do. Of course they do. Yeah. So they do eventually find him. Just wandering around out there in the desert because the entire planet is a fucking desert. They find him out there somehow. Did they ever explain that? How the fuck they found him out there? How the fuck did they find him? They just pick a direction and went? They're like, yeah, that's the right way. I see it. Come on, be honest with me. So anyways, they found him. But so did some natives of the planet who wanted to more or less scrap him for parts. And they were going to stop anyone who got in their way, including our young Skywalker, who got his ass handed to him, let's be honest.
Yep.
He 1v1'd our Tusken Raiders, as they're called, by the locals on Tatooine. He got his ass handed to him. He got dragged away back to where he'd parked his speeder, which is very reminiscent of a rusty '90s Mustang, which fits him very well. It fits him very well. But this mysterious figure just comes out screaming from the mountains, screaming some weird shit. I mean, he's saying some weird shit. The Tusken Raiders are not about it. They're like, hey, we just wanted this robot. We didn't want to be cursed by this mountain ghost. So they abandon real quick, and just get back on their merry way. But this mountain ghost turns out to be the one and only Ben Kenobi.
And how does this Ben Kenobi from here influence Luke Skywalker's life?
That's a pretty broad question.
I think it's pretty specific if you've seen the movie, dude.
I think he influenced his entire life.
Yeah, how? What did he do?
So he convinced him hey, maybe don't join the quote unquote army as you see it, because your father, your old man, I knew him, old war buddy, they were in Nam together. It's like, hey, this guy, he would have fought on the other side, and in fact, here's his trusty lightsaber to prove that he would have.
No one happened.
What do you mean then what happened? He joined them.
Well, what caused him to join them? He said no at first, didn't he?
He did. He was, pretty dead set on joining the We're gonna cut out.
We'll be right back. Alright, so Luke met up with this guy, Ben Kenobi, and he showed him a lightsaber. And Luke, how was Luke feeling about that?
Luke was, he seemed very unsure at first. But he quickly came around to the idea of, like, hey, this is pretty fucking cool. And just, like, opened it up almost in someone's face. He was very reckless with this lightsaber. Like a true amateur. But then he was, him and Ben eventually found, the ship that sold them the R2 droid and also C-3PO. And you're like, this looks a little suspicious. Looks a little, I think that's too precise for the locals on the planet. Like, this looks organized. This looks like a military did it. And Ben was like, maybe this was, the military, the actual military, which led Luke to, wait, they found the ship. They might have found who they sold to. Shit, we got to go home now. There's some trouble brewing on the home front of the Lars home front, which there absolutely was. They find their way back, and fucking barbecue, man. Fucking summertime barbecue, extra crispy, no holds barred here. Definitely a war crime, since it was done by the military, but we won't talk about that. This was all the convincing Luke needed to say, hey, maybe the Empire, not so nice of guys, Maybe the rebellion has the right idea, and thus commenced their adventure together.
Okay, so when this adventure commences, as you said, like, Luke and Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan's like, okay, we're starting the adventure, and he goes to this place called Mos Eisley, and why don't you just describe the environment of that city or town or whatever?
just a cultural melting pot, really, of the entire galaxy. You got people from all races, all shapes and sizes across the galaxy have just gathered here because it's sort of a trading hub of the galaxy. This is where traders, stop, refuel, and then head out to the destinations and whatnot.
And how did they interact with this environment?
They were they tried their best to fit in, but they stuck out like a sore thumb. They were immediately stopped by a basically an army checkpoint coming into the city, and they somehow coerced their way through. Some may say magic, some may say mind tricks. It's not important. They coerced their way through the city, and eventually found the pinnacle of all things trading and debauchery, the Mos Eisley Cantina, where they were looking for a trader that would take them through the galaxy to find the sender of the message they found in R2-D2.
And was that fruitful?
It sure was. I would say it was. Let's see. They entered this very 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 seedy bar would say some might call it a dive bar.
Sure.
So many characters around. They eventually found two characters specifically who would embark on their journey with them for the right price, of course. Yeah. In the meantime, our boy Luke, who has probably never been to a bar before, never been around more than 10 people at a time, was just like very lost, could not read social cues. He was confronted by some gentlemen who did not like the look of his face. Was that something he could help? Who knows? Eventually his backup found him, and some dismemberment happened. It happens. It happens. It happens at the best of places.
It happens.
It really happens. So this dismemberment happens to catch the eye of the local guard, who are like, "Hey, maybe don't cut people's arms off in the bar. That's a little sketch." You know who whips out giant glowing swords? Jedis. You know who we don't like? Jedis. Let's go check that out. So they convince these traders, with whom they've bargained a price with, to get them the fuck out of there, basically, because these guards are like, all right, there's some seedy characters here who we need to take care of. Let's get them, boys. And they find their way to this trader ship, but have been ratted out by this little not important character, basically.
Right.
But I will mention him because he looks like a plague doctor if he was wearing an elephant's trunk. Yeah, that guy.
Right.
Yeah, he's something, all right. So the Empire Guards find out where the ship is located that they'll be evacuating on. But I mean, they find it in time to definitely do something about it, but they cannot hit a single shot. They're missing left and right. They don't hit anything. And then obviously our boys get away in this newly acquired trading ship, which is apparently fast, according to the pilot.
Sure, and of course their location was Alderaan because of the droid that led them that message. Of course, yeah. And so now they're embarking on this journey, and what do they happen to find when they begin this?
We're talking post hyper drive.
Right,
here.
When they escape.
Oh, right, okay. Once they escape. All right. What they find outside the planet is more guards. But yeah, post hyperspace. I don't know the correct terminology here. Hyperspace. Am I saying that right?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Post hyperspace, they emerge into an asteroid field, which is a bit odd because they set their coordinates for a planet.
Yeah.
Turns out, asteroids can come from pieces of planets. They find that out real quick, which is really thrown a wrench in their plans, to say the least.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're approaching this planet, and they see an object that wasn't there before, but what was that object?
Of course, yeah. It was... So there's a moon a bit far out. So through the asteroids, they're like, all right, maybe we misaligned it a bit. Maybe we're not all mathematicians on this ship. let's fly this moon, and then sort our way out from there. Once they get closer, moons are not made of metal. Fun fact. And they discover that real quick. Like, hey, moons aren't made of metal is officially what they said in the movie.
And then they approach this metal moon.
And it starts giving the ship a good suck. It starts sucking it right on in. Yeah, a nice suck, a nice gentle suck. Just right on into the quote unquote moon.
And it wasn't really a moon, was it?
No, of course not. Of course not. It was it's a fucking starbase. It was a giant spaceship that happened to be spherical, with a giant death laser on it.
So what was exactly what happened when they approached this quote unquote moon that was actually a base? What happened from there?
So, gave the ship a good suck.
Yeah.
And what some might call a tractor beam, is let's not get into semantics here. Good suck into the cargo bay. And the ship, landed in their cargo bay. But when it was scanned, or no, it was not scanned. It wasn't scanned, was it? I don't remember. It was not scanned. It landed. Troops came aboard. No life forms were found. Because, there's no one aboard, of course. Why would there be? They jettisoned all their pods. They jettisoned all the pods. Why would there be people aboard? So, a little investigative crew came aboard and checked it out. Turns out there were people aboard who basically swapped uniforms with them. The people who happened to be aboard that ship. And now they are incognito on this star of death.
All right, so those people in the Millennium Falcon were going incognito.
Sure.
And
yeah.
Where did they go from there?
Oh man, so they took these disguises, if you will, and proceeded to infiltrate this star, this large star. This large, scary, deadly star. There's got to be a better name for it. We'll come up with one. Don't worry. So they, let me think. They.
It's Valerie. She's here.
Welcome back, Valerie.
She's our helper for this podcast.
Thank you, Valerie.
And yeah, they infiltrated that star, as you say.
Sure, yeah. This big fancy metal star, which causes a lot of death and destruction. I'm sure the writers will come up with something. They make their way through this with a large hairy prisoner who they found aboard the ship.
Who is that? No, it's their friend. And
No,
talk
yeah,
a little about him.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Give me some background about this guy.
Yeah. From the humble forests of Kashyyyk, our boy Chewie, as his friends call him, Chewbacca is his government. If you want to be proper, he's a bit he served in the Kashiki army during the Clone Wars, and then spent out his post war days as a trader pilot, a bit of an aide to a certain trader, Han Solo. Maybe you've heard of him. Kind of a big deal. Was it the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs, something like that? Kind of a big deal. Yeah. Aid to that guy. Super lovable, super friendly. Unless you piss him off, he might rip your arms off. Yeah, that guy. That is Chewbacca. That is our prisoner as we enter the Death Star, and these two Empire troopers have found him aboard the ship alone. Of course, he was the only one. They found him, and they're escorting him to the prison bay.
I don't need another beer Valerie, but I appreciate the offer. Mason, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic here.
Okay, yeah. Great.
Yeah.
I still got a little beer left.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah, cheers. And...
Yeah, right. So we left off with the the prisoner that the two troopers were escorting through the Death Star, and they were able to get past a moderate amount of security.
A few guys,
a few little low level, possibly possibly new recruits just got shoved in this position. They're not really representative of the entire army, but they were able to get past them to the control room, where they took out the three people that were in the most important room on the ship. Yeah, I don't know who designated those shifts, but there were not enough people in there. They were able to overpower them very easily, and then shot at the control box, of course. Once it was only the
Go ahead.
I'm getting ahead of myself here.
Go ahead, take a drink, dude.
Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Okay. There were some things that definitely happened between then.
Are you when they got to the detention block?
Mm-hmm.
And then what? What'd they do?
Oh, so the detention block that was just our two noble stormtroopers who found this Wookiee aboard the ship. They went down to the prison block to take him down there, put him away, probably for a long, long time.
What'd they say against the people who were in that block? They were like, what'd they say? How'd they get in there?
They said that. They have a pretty sizable belch. Let me think on this.
Yeah, they got into the detention block with Chewie.
Yeah, of course.
And what'd they say to get him in there?
They're like, hey, this guy is this guy's bad news. He is he's ripped three people's arms off on the way up here. You need to put him away. But the guys up there were like, hey, we didn't get any transfer paperwork. There was no proper documentation of this. It didn't go through the proper bureaucratic systems. Where's your paperwork? And they were like, shoot him. and they did just that. They shot him. They all died. All those men had families, but they all died. Just trying to do their jobs aboard this giant star that caused death. They're just doing their jobs. But they were able to free the princess now that all these stupid family-oriented guards were dead. They were able to free the princess. And the princess, of course, like, why am I being rescued by a manlet? I thought stormtroopers were taller. I didn't sign up for this. Just lock the door back. She was not interested at all.
You okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
Great. So then, when they found the princess after she locked the door, then what happened?
She decided against her better judgment. It's someone rescuing me. He may not be, 6'5", strikingly beautiful, but it's better than laying in the cell forever. So she decided to unlock the door and came out with them just in time for a new set of Imperial guards to storm in and start shooting at him after a failed persuasion check by Han Solo himself. I thought his charisma was pretty high, but it evidently was not high enough to pass this check. He didn't have the proper skills. I don't know. But, yeah, so these guys come storming up, break through the elevator door, start shooting everywhere. While their buddies are all over the ground, they don't care. Start shooting.
Take your time.
Yeah.
We'll have a drink right now. We'll just
cheers to that.
Take a little drink.
It's just warm and flat. It's disgusting. Anyways. So they start shooting. There's apparently no way out. Down this long hallway, there's just like a blinding light at the end, which, metaphor for like heaven or some shit like that. Or it could just be, bad environment lighting. I don't know. But our noble princess herself decides to save these fucktards who don't know what the fuck they're doing. Shooting at a grate, diving down into the trash chute, which is a great place to be. There's, so much to see down there. You can see so many of the internals of the ship. Get a real feel for how much this giant metal, I don't know how else to describe it. Just like sphere in the space, how it runs, and then kills planets. Once they slide down, they realize they're not alone down there in the trash juice. There is a creature, if you will, or let's be honest, they invaded its home.
Right.
It
didn't deserve that.
It didn't. It was having a good old time down there, sucking up the trash juice, just living life, if you will. And they just invaded its home. So it was like, shit, I gotta get these guys out of here. I gotta defend my home. Like a true red-blooded American. He was like, all right, I gotta spring into action. And it, of course, went after the beta male first, because he's the easiest target, Luke Skywalker. Just zucked him right down into the trash juice, where, if you don't know, humans cannot breathe in trash juice. That's a well-known space fact.
It's well-known space fact. Humans cannot breathe in trash juice.
This is a well-known space fact. But some people happen to have their blasters down there. They're stolen, unregistered blasters, which the government did not know about. They happen to have them down there, and shot this man in his home. This poor creature. And I think that is a big injustice of the Star Wars movies. That is my point I would like to make. Thank you for having me.
The whole movie builds up to the death of the trash monster in the Death Star.
That poor trash monster. He had a trash family. Anyways, so they kill him. They're like, all right, we're safe. Let's go out this door over here. Turns out the door is open from the inside because it is a trash chute, and people don't usually go in there. Wow, who would have thought? And I don't know how this happens, but it just starts closing in. You know, almost like what is the phrase I'm looking for here?
I don't know.
It's
coincidence?
No. It's almost like forcing a plot, forcing a narrative.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Forcing something to happen. So it's closing in as a trash chute does, as a trash compactor does, without command sometimes. It's closing in on these four main protagonists of the entire Star Wars franchise.
Could you name each four? All of the four.
Sure, I would love to name the four. Got our boy Luke. You know, beta male Luke, who almost died from a trash monster. Han Solo, our lovely Princess Leia, and then our hairy companion Chewbacca, all almost dying.
How do they get out of it?
Through sheer luck. This one competent and one very incompetent robot finally decide to answer the transmissions that Luke has been yelling into this little device that he left with him, you know, in the sensor room. Finally decide to answer him, like, hey, what's up? What do you need? Like, hey, please close down this trash chute before we are squished to death. Before we are turned into trash juice. Like, alright, I guess we can do that. You know, what do you know, in the nick of time, it is done, and they escape trash juice hell.
And then, once they get out of the trash juice, they are free and able to escape the Death Star, right? Or the big space station that you have refused to name, right?
Yeah, I don't know what this is like. Say Death Star? What is that? I don't know. But anyways, this giant space station that is spherical, metal, causes much death. Sort of looks like a star. You know, to some, to the naked eye, may look like a star. But a star of death, maybe. Yeah, I think that's what I'd call it. So they're able to find their way back to the ship that they were smuggled in on.
What's it called?
It is the Millennium Falcon. Not Falcon, Falcon. Thank you. Let's get the enunciation right. Thank you. Back to the Millennium Falcon. So yeah, they really find their way back to the Millennium Falcon, which is, of course, very well guarded because a prisoner's been transported off. They're waiting on crews to come back in, sweep the ship, and then probably scrap it or sell it. But this little guard detail is distracted by a certain Sith versus Jedi fight that is going on the next corridor between Big Bad Asthma Man and Benjamin Kenobi. So they see this going on. They're like, "Hey, when's the next time we're gonna see two guys hitting each other with lightsabers? Let's go check this out." Fuck this guard detail. This could get interesting. So they wander off just long enough for our crew protagonists to make it on the ship, all except for the Kenobi man himself, who's still, sword fighting with big edgy guy. I don't know. They didn't name they didn't name they didn't name him in the story. I don't know if he'll ever be named big, scary. Kind of looks like a beetle. Kind of looks like a beetle. Definitely has asthma. That guy. Yeah. He has the Force, but like not in a good way, So yeah, there's this whole distraction going on with Ben and Asthma Man. And while that's going on, our protagonists are able to get the ship going, get it ready for escape. But at the last second, Ben gets cut the fuck up. And he dead, as far as I know. Like he's just gone. They're like, oh shit. The guy that guided us here, he's gone. Now what do we do? So of course they just take off without him. They take off without him. Don't even like spare a goodbye on their way out. And like that, they're out of the Death Sphere. That's what I'm calling it. That's what I'm gonna refer to it as, Death Sphere.
And as they escape, what happens next? Come on. What? Come on, speak out loud.
I don't know. What happens next?
When they escape the Death Star, what happens?
Uh-huh. Give me a hint.
Rebel base. They go to the rebel base.
Oh, right. So they make their escape, make their great escape to the wonderful sunny city of Hoth.
No.
I don't remember.
They go to the rebel base.
Which one?
Yavin 4, the moon of Yavin.
Did they go there first?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Do you remember the end of the movie? Where they escape from the Death Sphere.
Sure.
And they go back to the rebel base on the moon of Yavin. And then they're like, oh, we got the plans. So then they proceed to attack the Death Star. Right?
Oh, they're on Yavin, not Hoth.
Yeah.
Never mind. I'm thinking of the wrong movie. I definitely have not... I haven't seen all the Star Wars. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about here. So, they fly back to this tiny little jungle planet of Yavin, the fourth one. I don't know what happened to the other three. We don't talk about the other three. Fly back to the fourth Yavin, where there happens to be a rebel base in this like Mayan temple in the jungle. Seems a little odd of a place to set up base. Also seems odd that the one guy on like spaceship guard duty is only holding a spear, but that's that's an artistic choice on the part of George Lucas. Anyway, they find back on this base that they have the plans to take out this spherical ball of metal death that happens to be floating up in space, which is probably for the best. It's already destroyed a planet, literally billions dead. Many families are dead. It's not good. It's not great. Mass extinction in space, if you will, but excuse me, pardon me. Yeah, it needs to go. It needs to go. So they're like, hey, we found the plans. It's a long shot. I don't know how you're gonna do it, but it is entirely possible through this one very specific method that is like a 1 in a million chance. And then all these hundreds of people who have volunteered to fly ships for the rebel cause are like, all right, yeah, sure. That's like there's no way we're gonna get that, but like, yeah, we might. One of us might. And yeah, they get all suited up to go in their weird orange jump. Why are the jumpsuits orange? What purpose does that serve? Why? Who decided that's the color that the jumpsuits needed to be? It serves no tactical purpose. Anyways, sorry. Side note there. Sorry for dissecting the fashion of this movie so much. I'm sure the costume designer is a very nice person, but it just doesn't.
He might be dead, dude.
There's a good chance. There's a good chance the costume designer's dead, and in that case, rest in peace. But if not, why? Anyways, so they get ready to go. Our boy R2D2, the troublesome droid that just caused all of this, basically has set it all in motion, gets loaded up into the same ship as the main protagonist now for some reason, even though definitely doesn't want to be main protagonist. Main protagonist Luke Skywalker gets loaded up into his ship.
What kind of ship is it?
It is an X-wing fighter. You wouldn't know this until you saw the wings open up into an X formation. You're like, wow, that really is an X-wing fighter. I understand why they named it that now. But yeah, he gets loaded up. He is ready to go with his droid pal and him and about 25 other. Would you say about 20-25 is accurate? Would you say more?
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate. Maybe 25-30,
25
like that.
25-30 brave souls set off in their rinky-dinky spaceships that are not meant for military combat. And they're like, all right, we're either gonna die or we're gonna get this. And well, only one of them got it. The rest died. The rest absolutely died. They were so dead so quickly. And many of them seemed like they did not have formal fighting skills, formal training of any sort. There's like, yeah, I've flown a spaceship before. I guess I can do this. That's kind of what it seemed like.
So what ended up happening at the battle of this giant sphere in the sky?
Sure. So many, like I said, many men died. These men all had families. It is canon. They all had families, and all these families no longer have a father. Um, so it happens, especially when you're a rebel group fighting against an authoritarian government, if you will. But yeah, most of them die except for our main protagonist, Lucas Skywalker. He after running down this trench, which is honestly very poorly defended by the Imperial troops, it is by far their most vulnerable spot on the ship, and they have like maybe 3 guys guarding it who don't know how to aim their cannons. Even eventually, Darth Vader himself has to step in and stop these guys. Like, hey, they're gonna kill us. Like, can you guys not hit these shots?
Do you think Luke had any influence aside from just being a random guy that made him destroy the Death Star? Like maybe some kind of power that he had?
There is a possibility. Uh, you know, emo asthma man who has this like force ability, if you will. Maybe there's not a better name for that. A force. He felt a small ripple, small crinkle in the force. I think he referred to it as, and he was not happy about it, and he sniffed it out. He sniffed it out like a fucking bloodhound. And like that ship right there flying in. That's where it's coming from. And he's like, I have to stop this guy. I don't know why, but I have to stop this guy. He's got some impressive forcefulness.
And he was about to get him, but then like what stopped him? What came and stopped him? It wasn't like someone who said they were gonna leave and they came back. Like maybe our Chad Han Solo.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
He said he was done. He wasn't gonna influence the battle.
Yeah, he took his money and left. Like he was like true like like just like if you were playing an RPG, you did your side quest, you got your money, you got the fuck out of there. Like he wasn't interested in the what else was going on beyond that. He did his job. He's ready to skedaddle. Him and his furry friends. But I don't know. I don't know what happened. Maybe he found a heart along the way. Or maybe Chewbacca convinced him. Like, hey, man, those guys were all right. Maybe we should put the money aside and help defend the galaxy. Maybe be guardians of the galaxy. Exact quote from Chewbacca.
Oh my god.
Anyways, they found their way back, shot Darth Vader's ship off into space. Somehow they didn't kill him. Like, his ship didn't explode like all the other ships, which is weird. Maybe a plot hole, if you will. But yeah, he got shot, spun off into space, never to be seen again. Asterisks. And Luke sank the game-winning shot, blew up.
Did he do that with like he just got lucky, or how did he?
He wasn't even looking. He was not even looking.
So how do you think he was able to do that?
Yeah, so most of these ships have very advanced targeting systems that do like math and calculations of whether or not they should shoot the shots. He turned his off. He probably closed his eyes, and just pulled the trigger,
And is there
and
a
it went
reason,
in.
is there a reason why?
Perhaps a forcefulness in the galaxy that he felt. Uh, maybe a brute force, if you will. I don't know how many other ways I can say this. The force. He felt that in his soul from Benjamin Kenobi himself, and sank the shot. Blew up the big metal sphere in the sky, and that was that.
And is there anything else that happened in the movie to conclude?
Yeah, of course they were of course awarded for their brave sacrifice, their strong valors, even the mercenary who abandoned them initially. He was also awarded along with his Chewie friend. Uh, they were awarded along with Luke and yeah, as saviors of the galaxy, if you will, from a certain princess whom they rescued from big metal star in the sky.
All right, so that about sums up the movie Star Wars: A New Hope. Mason, do you have any other concluding thoughts on this movie that you would like to share?
Man, I don't think so. It was a great movie. I love all the Star Wars movies, but this one has a very special place in my heart.
And who is your favorite character?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I don't know. Let me think. Luke Skywalker.
All right, well, this has been the Cantina Podcast, Episode 1, emulating drunk history within the Star Wars universe. I hope you guys all enjoyed listening as much as we had fun recording. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, please leave a like on the video and subscribe if you'd like to hear more. Other than that, we will see you in space.